Excuse me, are y'all with the cult?
We're not a cult. We're an organization that promotes love and...
Yeah, this is it.
Hey, hello, how do you do? Shady Doorags here. And we're back to King of the Hill because I am a capitalist, and while this series may no longer be the headliner of the channel, it still has enough value to avoid being taken behind the shed and shot. For now. Today we're looking at the episode Fun with Jane and Jane. Honestly, I'm kind of shocked it's taken me so long to get to this one. It's been requested many times, and it's a fun episode to talk about. Guess I've just been slacking. The episode starts at Strickland Propane, where Hank is closing up for the day.
My loyal Hank, you look handsome today.
Well, thank you, sir.
Is that a compliment Hank would just take?
Previously on Avatar.
I like Jeff Gordon. He's handsome.
Bobby, you joke around like that in public, people are gonna think you ain't right.
I mean, I could see Hank letting it slide since Buck is the one who said it, but I feel like there should have been some kind of hint at a negative reaction. I do, however, appreciate the obvious evil symbolism of Buck stepping out from the shadows. It's way over the top and not subtle at all, but fun nonetheless. Buck tells Hank he needs him to run a favor, that favor being taking care of his emus. Permanently.
You want me to shoot your emus?
Careful, Buck. Considering the gun you're giving Hank, someone might think your wife had something to do with this.
Remember what happened last time?
Hank tries to tell Buck that he's already got plans, but Buck just brushes that excuse off.
I want them emus dead, Hank. Make it look like a heart attack.
With a gun? I mean, I can make it look like the heart was attacked. Elsewhere at the Hill House, we see Peggy getting ready for her night out when Luanne comes in excited for their usual game night.
Can we play that? Please, please, please.
As an adult, I appreciate game night way more than I used to. Been looking for years for someone to play Go with.
But I made plans with your uncle tonight. You're in college. You should meet some people your own age.
Luanne decides that since it's sorority rush week at her school, maybe she could give that a try. Right as she leaves, Peggy gets a call from Hank telling her he has to cancel their date.
If you could see my face right now, you would know that I have never been more disappointed or more beautifully made up.
Not gonna lie, liking the look, Peggy. Though I'm gonna be honest, never been a big fan of your hairdo.
Why don't you call Nancy?
No, ever since she stopped cheating on Dale, everything is Dale, Dale, Dale. I guess I could call one of my other friends,
Min? Min!
Luanne! Luanne!
No, Min! Did the episode seriously just forget that Min exists? With beer in hand, Luanne heads to one of the sororities and makes an awful first impression.
I love my Zeta. Oh, let's sing Lady Marmalade next. I know the words.
Just go up and talk to the first person you see. That's how you make friends. I'm never going to another seminar.
Okay, so King of the Hill loves its stereotypes, but sororities are ones I'm not familiar with. Are they known for being stuffy? Because it feels like Luanne would fit in perfectly at a stereotypical fraternity. You know, ignoring the obvious problem.
And this is where we sleep. We mostly stay up late talking about what we eat if we weren't dieting.
Chicken wings and Reese's Cups! Sorry, the conversation hit a little too close to home. Hold up, dieting at y'all's ages? Oh, that's awful. Your metabolism is in its prime, which makes it a great time to abuse that bad boy. Or bad girl. Maybe that's it. I'm just thinking like a guy since we got a much better deal on puberty.
A guy on the football team said that all Zeta Sigma Tau girls were sluts. Is that true?
I should make a joke here, but I'm too distracted wondering why everyone has a name tag except Luanne. Is it a foreshadow? Not knowing Luanne's name will be important later.
Catherine, I have a question.
That wasn't a question.
My mother and grandmother were sisters at Texas Tech.
That still wasn't a question. Wait a second, I know that voice. This woman keeps following me around. I mean, I'm not complaining, but it's very weird.
Your mother and grandmother were sisters? Your family's more messed up than mine.
Wow, Luanne, that was rude.
So, was your mother in a house?
She stabbed my daddy in the back with a fork.
Oh, well, I guess everyone here is rude. Luanne, you laughed at Ellie's family situation. You can't get mad when people laugh at yours. We transition to Buck's emu farm, where Hank is getting ready to run his errand, and he brought the boys along to help. Considering they're all hunters and Dale kills animals professionally, this is a great way to include them in the plot. Though this is another episode where Boomhauer gets 0 lines. The lot plan on shooting the emus, but after seeing how majestic they are and feeding them by hand, they all fall in love with them, including Dale.
I can't do it. Yes, I can. Who am I kidding? Hey, is that one laughing at me? No, he's still being majestic.
Because everyone has lost their nerve, Hank decides to spare the emus and lie to Buck about their deaths.
I should have done the honest thing and murdered the emus.
Back to Luanne, she's rage drinking due to being rejected by Beta Sigma Tau. Another girl notices and asks Luanne about her troubles.
Wow. It's amazing that you're in college and not trying to mug me or sell me drugs right now.
The crap did you just say to me?
I think so too.
Oh, I guess it's not an insult to white people. The girl introduces herself as Jane and says Luanne would fit in at her sorority, the Omega House.
Maybe it's just me, but I like being somewhere where people aren't snooty and mean.
Pardon me, but what exactly is wrong with being snooty and mean? Accepting Jane's invitation, Luanne heads to the Omega House with her stuff to move in.
Hi, Jane.
Luanne!
You see how they all turned when Luanne called out to Jane? My goodness, that is some S-tier subtle foreshadowing. Jane lets Luanne in and offers to get her stuff, but as soon as she steps outside the gate...
Lisa, we are here to help you.
I'm not Lisa. My name is Jane.
We gotta move. This cult has lawyers out the yin-yang and they know how to use them.
No! It's Big Malian all over again. They revealed the danger too early. Instead of us getting to notice the signs and figure out that Luanne's in a cult, we're just told. That scene would have been so much better if they just didn't call the group a cult. We could have watched the episode wondering, holy crap, why did that just happen? Why did they call that girl Lisa when she said her name was Jane?
Welcome to Omega House. I am Jane. This is Jane. Jane, what's your name?
Bonnie?
No, it's Jane. Bonnie is the name your parents gave you.
They assigned it to you at birth.
Why should they get to tell you who you are? They don't own you.
Why should you get to tell me who I am? Do you own me?
What's your name?
Jane.
We love you, Jane.
Oh, that's why. Now, this is the part of the video where I'm supposed to say, look at all these obvious signs that Luanne is in a cult. But if I'm being honest, I'm not that savvy on what cults do. I mean, why would I be? I'm a Christian. But I can tell you about manipulation tactics in general, since they're something I use all the time on you guys. Since there's something I see used quite frequently. First off, getting rid of individuality. All these girls must be Jane because when you're less like you, it's easier for you to become someone else. The Omega House sets the condition of who Jane is and then tells each member they must become that person, starting with their names. I'm kinda shocked they didn't have all the girls style their hair in a specific way. Next up is positive and negative reinforcement. This is like manipulation 101. When someone does something you like, you reward them, and when someone does something you don't like, you punish them. Doing this gets their brains to associate the things you want them to do as good and the things you don't want them to do as bad. When Bonnie said her name was Jane, the entire sisterhood began hugging her, which no doubtedly made her feel good. And later, we'll see that when Luanne acts against the sorority's wishes, she'll be punished. And finally, at least for now, establishing an enemy. People are more united when they've got an outside force to focus their negative attention on. The enemy of my enemy is my friend and all that. The enemy in this case is anyone who isn't an Omega, but the Janes make it seem like it's people each girl has issues with specifically. For Luanne, it was uptight people.
Maybe it's just me, but I like being somewhere where people aren't snooty and mean. But they like you for who you are.
Yes.
For Bonnie, it was her parents, or maybe adult figures trying to control her.
Bonnie is the name your parents gave you. Why should they get to tell you who you are? They don't own you.
Because she's a bit slow on the uptick, Luanne doesn't quite catch what she's supposed to be doing.
What's your name?
Luanne.
No, it's Jane.
Nuh-uh.
Getting Brittany flashbacks, the earnesty is greatly overshadowing the stupidity. Oh wait, that's right, Luanne was actually played by a Brittany. Rest in peace, Miss Murphy.
You're making this very difficult, Jane.
Here's a little trick I use to remember my name. Okay, I think of a man named Lou, and then a woman named Anne. They meet in a kingdom in the forest.
It took me way too long to realize Luanne was responding to Jane, interpreting what she said as, you're making it difficult to remember your name. Also, good gravy, that was adorable. We transition back to Hank and the boys, who are trying to figure out how they can get rid of the emus.
It was a good emu.
Now, boys! Wait, did he say now? I think he said now.
You're too fast.
Move!
Better luck next time, suckers!
Well, that happened. By the way, I should mention that Peggy is having her own little moments between Hank and Luanne shenanigans, which are meant to emphasize her loneliness. I've been skipping over these parts because they're very short and I don't have much to say about them individually, but altogether, I do want to say that A, they're hilarious like the rest of the episode.
I'm gonna call everyone who wrote "Have a nice summer" in my yearbook and tell them how it went.
And B, they feel rather forced. We've seen Peggy successfully socialize in other episodes, so it's difficult to believe she'd have a hard time making friends here. Not to mention, Peggy has two best friends whom she hangs out with all the time, but the episode wrote Nancy out of it and banished Min to the Shadow Realm. Later at the Omega House,
Rice for breakfast? Well, we had rice for dinner. I'm losing weight because I haven't had any meat.
manipulation tactic number 4, deprivation of nutrition so you can't think straight.
You think you are hungry, but you're not. Your body lies to you, just like your parents.
Defaulting to parents again? I mean, I guess that makes sense. All these girls are at an age where they're just starting to feel true independence, so it wouldn't be surprising if they have resentment for the people that raised them.
But you can trust us. We will tell you when you're hungry. We will tell you when you're tired.
Manipulation tactic number 5, making you over-reliant on certain authority. Notice the diction Jane uses. She doesn't say, "we will decide when and what you eat." She says, "we will tell you when you're hungry." Freedom is an instinct that almost every human will fight against if they feel they're being deprived of it. It, however, comes with responsibility, a much less sexy concept. If you can disguise relinquishing freedoms as relinquishing responsibilities, more people will be willing to comply. That's what Jane is doing here. Instead of saying, "we will choose your meals and mealtimes for you," she's saying, "we will take on the responsibility of understanding when and what you need to eat."
Will you tell me if I have to go to the bathroom right now?
No bathroom! Number 1 and number 2 is something you did before you became an Omega.
Okay, you got me. That one's just weird.
We're going to take you someplace where you only go. Number 3. It's called the Omega Ranch.
Jane explains that the Omega Ranch is a place where everyone can focus on making jams and jellies, showing the audience the true nature of the cult. They want free labor.
They're so delicious, especially when smeared on a piping hot English muffin.
Manipulation tactic number 6, taking things away which makes them seem better when said things are later presented as a reward. Because these girls are deprived of food variety and nutrition, that bread and jam looks like the tastiest thing possible right now. Despite this tactic, however, Luanne has a different solution for her hunger problem.
How's it going, ladies? Have a large meat lovers pizza for Luanne?
Okay, it's possible that there's a pizza place open during breakfast time. Colleges often serve food at weird hours because, young adult appetites. It's possible that Luanne could have given that guy the gate code to get into the property. This is Luanne, she doesn't think things through. However, did that guy just enter someone's house after knocking once? That's not even the front door, he came from the side.
Do you like it here?
You locked me in a closet, but I've made a lot of new friends, so yes!
You have an independent streak that makes it very difficult for us to love you. I can assign you 10 friends for life or 0. It's up to you.
Manipulation tactic number, what are we on? Like 78 or something? Whatever. This is the most important one. The threat of rejection and ostracization. Luanne should not be treated like this, but she's so desperate to not go back to being alone that she's making herself deal with it. I said it before and I'll say it again. Humans are social creatures who want to feel like they belong. There are quite a few things people will put up with to make sure their relationships are maintained, especially if said people are not good at making them in the first place. Rejection is a major fear for some, and the threat of ostracization works particularly well if the group has made the person feel special.
Do you understand? I said, do you understand?
My urge to murder is rising. On his way home after catching one of the emus, Hank sees Luanne selling jams on the side of the road. Shouldn't they be at an intersection? I feel like that's gonna halt traffic.
If they catch me talking to you, they'll throw me in the closet again. I'm so tired and hungry, and they haven't let me pee-pee in 2 days. I think they're trying to drive me crazy.
If your sorority has to sell jelly to buy beer, you're drinking too much.
No, Hank, your niece is telling you about a very bad experience. The first words out of your mouth should be,
"Get in the back, I'm taking you home."
Oh, they were the second words out of your mouth. Okay, that's acceptable. However, I do want to draw attention to something. Luanne has been driven to a point that she no longer wants to be in the Omega House. So why doesn't she just leave? There's nothing stopping her from literally just walking away. Well, if we remember Pygmalion, we know that Luanne is not very practiced in making decisions for herself.
She quits.
Well, now, wait a minute. I wasn't gonna fire her.
We are going home.
Hank is acting as a savior here, not because he has a truck Luanne can get in, but because Luanne views him as an authority figure in her life, one who supersedes Jane. Luanne needed Hank to confirm to her that leaving was a good idea before her brain would allow her to act on that thought. Later, we see Luanne recovering from her ordeal as she informs Hank and Peggy what she's been through.
They wake me up in the middle of the night just to yell at me.
All sororities do hazing. The harder it is, the stronger the friendships.
Didn't know that. I always thought of hazing as a fraternity exclusive thing. This moment is supposed to be the start of Peggy projecting her loneliness onto Luanne, but if I'm being honest, I could have easily made the same mistake Peggy did. In an environment where hazing is tradition, one could easily confuse it with an abusive experience. But Shady, hazing is universally bad. No person should ever have to put up with relentless teasing and abuse just to be accepted. First of all, the military exists. Second, while I absolutely believe you can cross a line, I don't have a problem with hazing on its concept alone. Persevering through negative experiences has been known to bring people closer together, and that's largely the point of fraternities and sororities, brotherhood and sisterhood. Obviously, the hazing experience isn't for everyone, but that's part of it as well. It's a if you can't take the heat, get out of the kitchen type of deal. And I know what I'm about to say is going to bring some of you physical pain, but successfully surviving any negative experience builds character.
Have you ever wondered why I spend every Friday night with you?
Because I challenge you with my intellectual.
Honestly, that sounds like something I would say if I had to send one of my audience members to fight for me. I challenge you with my intellectual. Peggy laments to Luanne that she regrets never joining a sorority herself, as doing so would have given her the chance to make lifelong friends. To prevent Luanne from making the same mistake she did, Peggy takes the girl back to the Omega House.
I didn't like your jam at first, but I gave it a second chance.
So, you brought her back?
Did you bring back our jams? Those weren't yours. Jane, seeing not one, but two potential members, invites both Luanne and Peggy into the Omega House.
Omega House appreciates a mother as caring as you are.
I'm too young to be Luanne's mother. I am her aunt.
I get the joke, but what Peggy said actually can make sense. Your parent always has to be a certain age older than you, but not their sibling. Shoot, Bobby literally has an uncle younger than him.
You seem like a fascinating individual. You are probably very popular.
Hate to compliment her, but Jane is doing a really good job here. Not only is she flattering Peggy, which is the woman's weakness, but she's also fishing for vulnerabilities, and Peggy takes the bait hook, line, and sinker.
Actually, no. It's difficult to find people you can really connect with.
People of high intellect often intimidate people.
Can't confirm. That's why people run away from me all the time. Women are especially intimidated by my intellect.
That's a fact.
And you are of high intellect, Peggy. No matter what you've been told by your husband.
There are times where Hank is very restrictive of what he wants Peggy to do, but as far as I know, he's always respected her intelligence.
Your father, mother.
How did you know?
Because we love you.
I think that's one of my top 10 favorite King of the Hill jokes. So now both Peggy and Luanne are part of the quote-unquote sisterhood.
Hank, great news. My new best friend Jane took Luanne back and invited me to sleep over. You know what I love about this place? Nobody ever gets tired of hearing about me. I never want it to end.
It never has to end, Aunt Jane.
Geez, Jane switched up quick. You'd think she'd still be a little concerned considering how scared she was before. Then again, like I've said in the past, Jane is Jane's role model, and when your role model is calm, that makes it easier for you to be calm. Plus, now Jane believes that all this abuse will eventually be worth it. Back at Strickland Propane, Buck needs the emu corpses for the insurance claim, so he asks Hank to dig them up. Of course, Hank can't do that, so he tries to get something that can substitute.
How about this? We didn't want to cruise around town with a truckload of dead emus, so we had them butchered and packaged. Mr. Strickland will buy that, right?
Hank, it doesn't matter if Buck believes it. The insurance company needs to believe it.
But how am I going to explain a $400 meat bill to Peggy? It's a good thing she's on her ladies' sleepover at the Omega House.
Omega House, huh? It's a cult, you know. They pay me in jams and jellies.
Dale explains how the Omega House uses cult tactics to brainwash girls into becoming slaves, which Hank now realizes is the so-called hazing, causing him to rush over there to save his family. Ah, that's pretty bad storytelling there. If Dale didn't conveniently already know the Omegas were a cult, Hank would have never been the wiser, and both Jane and Jane would never be seen again. Luck is playing way too big of a role here, and this could have been easily fixed. The episode could have just showed Dale leaving the Omega House with jams on the first night that we saw it, making the situation another foreshadow. This convenience also happened in Life in the Fast Lane Bobby saga, but at least in that episode, Hank didn't act until he saw Jimmy's incompetence with his own eyes.
Peggy! Luanne!
We don't have any Peggys or Luannes. You're thinking of Blonde Jane and Old Jane.
Blonde Jane? Then who the crap are you? Dale tells Hank that what he's doing is useless since the lack of protein is what's making the girls delusional.
This is a job for meat.
I mean, it is, but you can't convince me Hank doesn't say that about every other problem in his life. Also, it's a good thing that was a propane grill. If it had been a charcoal grill, Old Jane and Blonde Jane would have been doomed. So Hank and the boys begin cooking up meat, which the smell awakens Old Jane.
My new friends have invited me to spend eternity, I think, with them.
But maybe you'd like a bite for the road.
I like that Hank makes it seem like he's accepting Old Jane's choice, but I think it could have been stronger if Old Jane took the meat herself instead of Hank almost forcing it into her mouth. With protein in her system, Old Jane is now thinking straight and realizes how dumb this all is.
Old Jane, get back here!
My name is not Jane. My name is Peggy.
Can you smell that? Can you? Look! That guy's giving out food!
This one tickles too.
Why you gotta make it weird, Bill?
That's funny. I can't remember my name. I think it starts with an R.
Come on. You can do it. Kingdom in the Forest, remember?
Right. It's Luanne.
Yes! Sorry. I have no idea why, but Luanne remembering her name always gets me emotional. I think it's because the older I get, the more I see Luanne as a child, and my paternal instincts are very sensitive to seeing innocents, especially children, be taken advantage of. Having eaten meat, all the X-Janes leave the Omega House, and while that makes me very happy to see, I can't help but feel this is a Pinocchio Pleasure Island situation. Sure, they got away, but there's still a ranch of Janes being enslaved. Also, there's nothing stopping the Omega House from continuing to do this. Elsewhere, our deaths were greatly exaggerated, but yours won't be. And that was Fun with Jane and Jane. Pretty much a classic in my opinion. Not flawless, mind you. The Peggy subplot was forced, Hank got lucky in knowing about the problem, and the emo thing didn't technically have a conclusion, even if it does end off on a few funny jokes. But to me, that's the important part, the comedy. I mainly wanted to talk about this episode because it's freaking hilarious, but I'd be remiss not to go over the obvious. There's nothing wrong with wanting to be a part of a society that accepts you. In fact, it's a natural feeling. But there's only so much of yourself you should be willing to compromise in order to do so. Just because a society is open doesn't mean it's for you. In fact, there's sometimes a nefarious purpose behind inclusivity. I wish I could give an easy fix to avoid situations like what Luanne went through, but honestly, the signs aren't always in plain sight. The best thing you can do when you suspect a group is asking too much of you is to start openly questioning things. If there's no room for free thinkers, it shows the society cares less about you becoming a part of it and more about it becoming a part of you. Even then, that's not a guarantee, just a precaution to avoid losing yourself when drinking the Kool-Aid. Wow, this episode could have been a lot darker. This has been Shady Doorags. So long. Farewell. Auf Wiedersehen. Goodbye.